All right, everybody, welcome to What Are We Screaming About? I'm sitting here with my man. This is my man, Adolfo Perez, head coach, 24 years at LA Pierce College, and it's always such a joy to talk to Adolfo. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Marlon, for inviting me. It's super excited to be here.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I want to jump right into, NILs, first of all.
Okay.
And if and how is it affecting the junior college ranks?
It's affecting us a lot, especially in the Orange County area,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like so not just rich.
Yeah.
As far as like expectations, you're having kids now that normally would go to a D1. And because of the number, also the situation of the NCAA that you cannot have so many players. So the junior college ranks are, being going into my 25th year. We say this all, but it's getting so challenging because we have kids now that are going to junior college that would have never thought of going to junior college.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
getting very, Saddleback has some girls like I know they scrimmaged a T1 school. I won't say the name, but they beat them,
Wow.
because
Wow.
it's completely different,
Well,
you know.
and also, didn't they change the rule that you can still do 2 years of junior college and have 4 years
Yes,
to play at a
which
4 year?
yeah, it's they basically they did that for football,
Yeah.
really, it's but it's definitely going to affect it because now you have colleges that if you're a freshman, it's almost going to be impossible to play
Yeah.
at the next level. I mean, you have to be on the national team.
Yeah. So what's that
Because
do to a high school kid?
correct, like yeah, these kids have to go and basically just sit on the bench even at a junior college, because now 4 year schools are like, okay, this kid has already played 2 years. She's mature physically, technically,
Hmm.
and even emotionally, and now she's going to be a freshman at my school.
Yeah.
So they are loving it, you
Well,
know.
but see, that's what I've been talking about with a lot of parents, talking about with a lot of players, is it is difficult right now for a high school senior because the transfer portal. Now you can go JC and play 2 years and still have 4 years left. So what would you say? How does a high school senior really jump to that D1 level or D2 level when you can go to the transfer portal or go to JC and grab a young lady or a young man who's already 21 years old
Yeah,
versus a 17, 18 year old?
yeah. No, it's definitely not a rule for high school kids.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that dream, the dream is there, but it has to wait.
Yeah.
Because before it was literally, I know it was 7% of all kids that play high school soccer go on to play at any level from one to junior college, which is amazing. That's why I tell our recruits only 7%. That's incredible. That's a small number of kids that end up playing
Yeah.
at whatever level of 4 year.
Yeah, and that's so difficult because we know. I mean, obviously, I'm a high school coach, but we know the kid's dream is, oh, D1. Oh, I'm
Yes.
going D1. And like you said, not that we ever want to crush anyone's dreams, but it is getting more
It's
and more difficult. What bothers me, and what I'm so glad that we're here with you today at Los Angeles Pierce College,
yes, sir.
I love it because sometimes, and this is no offense, but
Mm,
sometimes people look at JC like, I'm not going JC.
without a
That's
doubt.
not good, or that's just barely a step above high
Yes.
school. What would you say to that?
Well, it's very unrealistic because we get a lot of high school players that think like that. You know, um, and I mean, an example: Santa Barbara City College,
Hmm.
who is in our conference, and we play him twice every single year. We tied them, and they beat us 1-0. Their starting 11, they have no RL players.
Mm.
An example: every single one of those kids played ECNL.
Wow.
They have a kid, for instance, their center back who played here in our club at LAFC, 6'1", big. She got recruited by Pac-12 schools, and she wasn't ready. On the girl side is a little different. Wasn't ready to, and they are. I mean, their roster is even in their spring. They're at UCSB, Cal State Northridge, and they're playing all D1s
Yeah.
for the spring. It has definitely. I mean, it is shocking, and I think they see it when they come.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
and they don't understand. I use example of a kid I had 3 years ago. Haley Villanueva went to El Camino. Her father's a college counselor at Grant High School. And obviously, he deals with kids all the time.
Right.
And her dream was to go to UCLA. Well, UCLA has the most, the last 3-4 years, the most applicants of any institution in America.
Absolutely.
And we have a program here at Pierce that basically guarantees you a spot at UCLA if you take care of what you need to take care of. She came here. She just graduated UCLA. And quoting her, she said that the honors program at Pierce was a lot harder than my classes, my upper division classes at UCLA.
Wow.
And I always bring her in to talk to her girls because if I'm the coach, if I tell them, they're going to say, oh, well, you're telling me what I want to hear. I bring her who was here and experienced that.
Yeah.
So it's, our professors are Pierce. I dealt that as a father. I had my oldest went to Cal Lutheran,
Okay.
and graduated. He's doing his MBA now, and he's going to owe forever. My other son is just finished Pierce, going to Northridge. He's done with every he's taking his upper division classes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, there's a stereotype. That's another battle that us coaches in junior college have to battle to convince these kids. I'm like, but, look at the quality of professors that you are getting. These professors teach here at UCLA. They teach.
Because at the end of the day, what you're saying is, you're a student athlete. And, you're talking about 7%, may go on to college. But how many are going pro?
Yeah.
The percentage is so
Oh,
small.
my God.
It's just so
And never,
small.
especially on the boys' side, everyone thinks they're going to go pro.
Yeah. And it's so incredibly small. So if you can go to a junior college, knock out your general ed classes, have some terrific professors to move on for a 4-year, why not do it? But it's the mentality.
It's
that
the
we're
mentality. I never feel offended, to be honest, because I've been doing this.
Yeah.
I also coach club.
Yep.
And so I wear 2 hats.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, it's very, it's getting harder to go to. If you want to play, it's getting a lot harder as we progress.
Yeah.
More and more kids, just the numbers are against you. And you always, but as a coach, one of the hardest things to do nowadays, to be honest, is to be honest. Because if you're honest, you can get in trouble. We're in 2026. I get some parents coming to me on the club level, right? Hey, I want you to be realistic about my kids. And I go, no, I want to keep my job. So
That's right. That's right.
not be realistic,
Yeah.
So you gotta, but I'm also, I try to, hey, it's.
Well, and that's, again, this podcast and examining, what are we screaming about? People are so upset when it doesn't go their way, and I get it. I'm a parent. My son played in college, but it's UCLA or bust sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And for us living in Southern California, in the Los Angeles area, it's USC, UCLA. That's where I'm going to go play. But they're recruiting all around the world.
Oh,
around the world.
There was an article that I just finished. A school in Boston, Division I school, does not have one American on their roster.
Wow.
Not one American. So now you have this. Now you have international players that have already, some of them, because they don't, already kind of play pro, even though you can't play pro in college, but they play at such a high level, and that's happening. So not only are the numbers stacked against you, now you're having the international students that are coming around the world, both on the men and women's side.
Yeah.
If you look at the roster, if you look at the Stanfords, at UCLA, they have girls from the Canada national team, Sweden national team.
Right.
So it's taking away spots. These kids have been playing club and have been paying since 5-6 years old. And then it's like you just said, it's UCLA. They don't understand. Look at UCLA's roster.
Yeah.
Half of it now is international players.
Absolutely.
I coach the UCLA's head coach son, who's now a graduate assistant at UCLA.
Wow.
And I can tell you, UCLA, and they're not how they were in the past. UCLA was a Final Four team on the men's side, like automatic.
Absolutely.
I don't know when was the last time they got to that level.
Yeah.
And at UCLA, to me, is like the perfect school.
Oh, absolutely.
The weather, the location, the academics, everything.
Oh. Well, for us here in Southern California, it's perfect. But we also know that Southern California produces some of the best soccer players in the country.
In the country.
And so, yes, everyone wants to go to a UCLA, a USC, a Pepperdine.
So-
Tim does a great job at Pepperdine all over.
Yes.
Everyone wants to do that. You mentioned coaching club, and I know you've been coaching club for decades.
Since 1994.
Oh, my goodness. It's all.
Yeah, so that I can tell you a
Well,
little.
and we'll get to
Right.
that in a second because I know you've seen a lot change
Oh my God.
in the club
yeah.
soccer world since 1994. But it's very unique for you to be a head coach at a junior college, but coaching club and hearing parents, kids saying D1 or bust.
Yeah.
And you're in one of the best clubs in the country, most prestigious clubs in the country.
Yes.
So how do you break that news? Because you mentioned we need to be honest.
Yes.
And I always try to pride myself on being honest with the parents and players that I coach.
It's
So when you have a player
Mhm.
and that player or parent says D1 only, how do you break that to them?
it's very challenging because there we have some parents that play, in club there's different levels, right? There's like there's academy and then there's ECNL. And we have some parents that technically play in your club's third or fourth team.
Mm.
And with all due respect, if you're playing already, if you're a sophomore or if you're a junior and you're still not playing in the top team, because even for that level, it's going to be hard.
Sure.
It's almost going to be impossible for you.
Yeah.
And you don't like to say, can it happen? Absolutely. It happened to Jackie Alchital, who went to El Camino. Like when she started here, she literally was playing goalie.
Yeah.
Was on one of the lowest teams at Rouse. They have black, they have blue. She started in black, blue, white, in and out. Arguably, when she left, the greatest girl soccer player that was playing in the whole club.
Yeah.
She got.
You pointed up here to these jerseys. These are some of your former players that are playing professional.
Yes, bless.
But you've been coaching 24 years. I'm looking at all of your photographs, team photographs all around your walls, and there's 3, maybe 4 or 5.
Yes.
But think about that. Just think about that for a minute, because we said,
Yes.
and not to crush anyone's dreams, because we want to support dreams and goals. But I see 3 jerseys up there. And so, again, we have to be realistic, right? We have to be realistic.
Yes.
You mentioned all the different levels. Now it's pretty much, if you're not playing ECNL
Yes.
or you're not playing Academy, you're playing one of the lower level, your chances are very slim.
Very slim. And parents can look at rosters. Can look at rosters, boy or girl, can look at the rosters of where these kids played.
Yeah.
You have, going to UCLA, they have the Dallas Texans, Prestige Club, PDA in New Jersey. It's like there's always going to be, exceptions to every rule.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's just very challenging because these players are good.
Yeah.
And now with the limited rosters in Division I soccer, it's going to be, and it's and a trigger, because it's going to be not just D1, D2. They're going to cut the rosters. I remember one of my best friends, Keith West, was at Northridge.
Yeah.
And he would
Love
have
Keith, by the way.
He would
Shout
have
out to Keith.
Shout out to Keith. He would have 42, 45 kids. I go, you're nuts. But it was good for the school.
Yeah.
That's we're being honest. What are we screaming about, right?
Yeah.
But we're being honest.
Yeah.
It's 45, and the 45 is not gonna play.
Yeah.
Kid from the 30 to the 45. What was wrong with going to junior college? But it's such a status thing. Like do you want to go and you want to play?
Yeah.
Now it's a little different on the boys' side, because on the boys' side, we have players that academically can be going to the 4 year, but boys are junky because they want to play.
Yeah.
Like I coach both, and question I get asked is that, first of all, I go, well, boys are ego driven. Girls is about emotions. A boy can play for you even if they don't like you. A girl cannot play for you if they don't like you. That's been my experience from day one. Because a girl, it's all about emotion and the culture you create and the aura. And is it positive? Is he screaming at me? How he's saying it? Is he cool? Boy doesn't care about that.
Yeah.
They're just, you have to tell him, hey, you're a badass. You're good. You're good. And they're driven. They're driven.
Yeah.
And I see that. I've had club girls that will say, going back to like junior college, for instance, I had a couple of kids. She was MVP for the city.
Mm.
And I'm like, she plays for me. I know I'm going to get her up here. And she says to me, I had a conversation. She says, I'm just going to go to San Luis Obispo. I had a great running club and I'm done with soccer.
Yeah.
You see that a lot on the girls' side. You don't see it so much on the boys.
Well, it's funny you say that
Mm,
because I've been coaching girls now, 27 years, and have coached both boys and girls. But I heard a saying once that it really rang true with me. And the saying is, boys need to win to have fun. Girls need to have fun to win.
100%.
And
Yeah.
I saw a study done at an elementary school with fourth graders. And they went out for recess with just boys. And they had a boy as a captain, two captains. And what did the boys do? They picked the best players. Then we went out with the girls. What did the girls do? They picked their friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that unity, that bond, that sisterhood to them, even in the fourth grade, we can win. We can do this. We can accomplish something. The boys, it was like, I want Johnny. He's the best in the fourth grade, and let's go win.
Yes.
And it's very interesting in that respect. But I truly enjoy, I know we both support the women's sports, athletics. It's so important that women also get their
Oh,
opportunities
without
to
a doubt.
shine. But I wanted to go back to something because 1994, when you started in club, was there as much talk about D1 as there is now? Do you think that social media
Oh,
has created this eliteness, if you will?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I remember, obviously things were different. I remember Terry Davila coached me and Terry had like at that time the two top girls teams in the area. There wasn't as many clubs, obviously. We had kids coming in from Bakersfield. We had kids coming in from Palmdale.
Yeah.
And at that time, I say that girl won't play for. They played with us because we were, we would go to WAGs, which is in Washington D.C. We would go to the Dallas Cup. We would go to Surf, and it was so different. It was so different because our team, if you were on our team, people just you were good.
Yeah.
We had the best players from Chatsworth, from El Camino, from all these private, from Harvard Westlake, all these private schools, and we would go to showcases, and literally, like from that first team, out of the 18 players, 18 went on to play
Wow.
Division One.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't talked about because it was, it's always, I think, also like about the numbers.
Yeah.
The difference, for instance, that time, if we, now you can't really do this. Like if we would lose a tournament, I mean, we practice at Jelty Park, the park right there on off the 101, and we would run. We would run literally for 2 hours
You
nonstop.
just said you can't do that now.
We can't. If I did that, at any level that I'm coaching, I would not have a job.
Yeah.
In reality, but the girls bought to that. It was okay.
Yeah.
The difference. I coach at a great club here, but no coach is more than on the same team for more than 2 years. Let's turn over. With LA Force, that team in '94, I had him from U11 through U19.
Wow.
And U19 was a year they already played in college their freshman year, and you can come back and
yeah.
play for National Cup. We would add 2-3 players each year, but the core stayed.
Yeah.
I remember I've gone to 3 weddings from that team, and they were each other's bridesmaids. You don't see that. Kids don't even talk to each other in their own club. And on that team, like they're literally they're talking about being sisters, bridesmaids to each other. I went to Kim Taylor, one of the greatest players, if not the greatest girl I've ever coached, had the privilege of coaching. She went to Chaminade, 4-year starter, was Hope Solo's roommate. All 4 years at University of Washington. People don't realize Hope Solo entered as a forward to Washington.
Sure did. Yep.
As a forward, not even a goalkeeper. Top 3 goalies get hurt in preseason, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
But her mentality that I learned from. But Kim got married, and I remember 7 players were her bridesmaids. made.
Wow. Yeah.
7,
Yeah.
I can tell you that will never happen.
Yeah.
Coaching a team from U11 to U19, that will never happen.
No.
That will never happen because now you're a game away in club. You're a game away from losing that kid because if you screamed at that boy or that girl, oh, hold on, my friend plays over here at this other club, so I'm just going to go there. They will go home and they will tell their parents, my coach is yelling too much. Guess what? And that's the reality
It
of what
is.
we live today.
It
I
is.
tell people, you don't get your players for the season. You get it's weekend by weekend. You know.
Wow. But that brings me to my next point that I wanted to talk about, and that is parents. And again, with this podcast, we want it to be a podcast where people think, and we're making them think and think about maybe their behavior towards referees, their behaviors towards coaches, their behaviors towards their own children or other people's children. So where we are now in 2026 and the parental point side, everyone's a coach.
Everyone's a coach.
Everyone's a coach because everyone has a phone. Everyone
Yes.
can watch videos, and everyone's a coach. How do you work with your parents, be it at the junior college here at Pierce, or in the club? How do you make it clear that you are the coach?
Well, so at the junior college, it's a little bit different because I am I am all for parents because I realize we would not have their kids without their parents. At Pierce, I love to meet the parents before when we're recruiting them. Suggest to the kids, hey, please bring your mom, dad, whoever, so that they can know who's coaching. To me, even though I have 2 boys, but I would love to, especially being a girl, who's going to be around your kids. Who's going to be around your child because they're still child. To me, that's very important.
Oh, absolutely.
I tell our recruits when they leave, I go, look, no one can guarantee you wins. No one can, but I can guarantee you that we will care and we will take care of you. If it translates to wins, more power to it. That's important. So we do not have the interaction as much. Basically, we talk to the parents before the season, and then our next really conversation is at the banquet at the end of the year. With club is a little different. Depends on the age that you're coaching. So most of the time you're coaching an age, unless you're coaching only seniors, that you are going to interact with parents.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, parents are. It has happened to me when you've been coaching since '94. Every scenario imaginable has occurred. I've had parents just recently as last year. I have a boys team that's the 3rd or 4th team in our club. Very competitive team, but none of my boys made. I was not used to that. None of my boys made varsity as freshmen.
Oh, wow.
Before it was like, I had a team, and not because I was a coach, but as a you are on the, some kids didn't make their JV team, but yet those same parents are expecting me as a coach that I've been blessed, won 4 national cups, 4 national championships, that I'm going to come in and we're going to win.
Yeah.
And I just look so unrealistic. Parents that because of social media, because of email, because everyone has a phone, parents now, like if kids, this happened to me last year. There's a parent, the kid was playing, but knew he was going to be cut basically at the end of we don't cut kids during the year, maybe at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And he sought after the 4 or 5 kids that don't play as much.
Yeah.
Hey, our coach, why don't you start calling our director? Our coach yells a lot. Our coach does this, and it backfired because the irony, those 4 kids that don't play a lot are the kids that like me the most.
Yeah.
And they're like, one of them said, if he's not my coach, I'm not going to play.
Yeah.
So it was like, but it's very sad. Instead of that person coming to me and saying, they're not going to do that for the most part.
Yeah.
They're going to go around you and they have that power. And I believe club, the fact that you pay,
Yeah.
and you can sign, because we can sign contracts and we can sign ethical codes. And we have here at LAFC, we have I believe it's a 24 or 48 hour rule where even if you're not happy with the coach,
That's right.
give it time to cool down.
Yes.
And you think that's follow? Absolutely not.
No, it's not.
It's very sad. It saddens me because, I coach, for instance, so I teach during the day. I coach peers. I coach club. So about 9:30, I'm finishing up, going home, and we have parents. Hey, coach, do you have a minute? Well, I know that minute is,
You,
you know, it's,
you know what that minute is about.
and parents, I think, have more power now than they ever had before because of social media, because of the ability to talk to everyone.
Yeah.
And in clubs, what I've learned, and that for the most part, negative is always louder
Mm,
than positive. If there's 90% that are happy with you, those 90% people don't call your director, don't call the president. Come, hey, AP's doing a great job.
yeah.
The people that are unhappy, that are not playing much, that are bitter, are the ones. So then the director, they don't want to hear this. They don't want. So what do? Hey, we'll take you off that team. Let's put you on this team. But I didn't do anything, and especially when you believe in what you're doing. And I've always said that if it could be a way where I don't want to tell the parents, please, call the parents, call the director, tell my boss that you're happy with me.
Yep.
It's the people that are not happy with you,
That's
the
right.
ones with the emails, with the calls,
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's sad to me. And again, my advice, being a parent myself, I had the honor and privilege to coach my son, to coach my daughter. But I was also a spectator, and I was their biggest fan. And in my opinion, we're losing parents as fans, and parents are coaches.
yeah.
And just to coach a game, be it high school, club, whatever it is, all of the coaching, instructing, going on from the stands.
Oh,
And I always say, if you're doing that, then it makes me feel like you don't trust me
correct.
as your coach. And I've been doing this almost 3 decades. Not to say that I know it all, because I don't. But parents, you're not at training. You don't see what's going on in training.
Absolutely.
Tactically, you don't know what it is we're trying to do on a Wednesday night, Friday night, Saturday, whatever it is. You don't know. You come to the game individually just to see your child do whatever it is, score goals, assist, whatever. But it becomes very individual and very singular instead of team, and I'm here as a fan. I once had a parent say to me, and I'm like, could you,
Yeah.
well, I go to LAFC games, the pro, the men,
Yeah.
and I scream and yell. Okay. I mean, it's bizarre to me. So, I would say, and I say it on this podcast all the time, parents, sit back and enjoy your kids, because it goes fast.
Yes. But it's not happening.
And they don't need your help.
Yes.
If they're playing ECNL, Academy, GA, whatever it may be, your kid's a pretty darn good player.
Yes.
They don't need your help. They have
And
coaches.
sometimes parents, they think they're doing,
Yes.
but they're not, because the kids know when they played well and when they didn't. And the first thing, they're already afraid of that car ride, because oh my God, you should have done this, and and a lot of time, with all due respect to parents, some of these parents are saying things, I've never touched a soccer ball, but they know everything. I had a coach, I'll never forget this, in Mexico, after I played at Cal State Northridge, and after I finished, I went to Mexico. And I remember him saying to me, like, so we're here, the sideline is here. He goes, from that line this way, I've never made a mistake. I'm perfect. It's the shit that happens when you go in.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, I'm like, so true. And that's what happens with parents.
Yeah.
Behind the line, they're perfect. They know everything. And how about inside?
Yeah.
It's very, and I think, because like you said, it's so easy now to communicate. Kids, phone is like,
Yeah.
it's the best, it's a double-edged sword.
Well, the other thing too, Adolfo, as you know, the majority of kids now have personal trainers.
Oh, yeah.
So if their personal trainer, who's getting paid,
Yes.
is saying, "Oh, your son, your daughter, oh, they're great.
Yes.
They're great." So then they go back to the coach and they go back to the team, and maybe the coach isn't echoing what that trainer is saying. Now you're the bad guy,
Oh, yeah.
because the trainer said,
Oh, yeah, and he's an expert
right, right. The trainer's
who has not been at one of your practice, doesn't even know you, doesn't even know the dynamic, or if he or she missed practice or was late, or absolutely.
Yeah, and I always say to parents, have your trainer come to your child's game. Have they been to your child's game? No, they don't come to the game. Have them come. Because if you're truly going to be a trainer and help that kid, because what is training? It's one-on-one. Soccer is not one-on-one. Basketball is not one-on-one. It is a team sport.
Absolutely.
And so if you're getting one-on-one training to improve your skills, great. But when you're going and saying this kid is great and they should be playing this position and doing this and doing that, and they've never been to a game.
Oh, and it happens. You're absolutely correct. Everyone's trainer knows, everybody.
Yeah.
And the coach, and what's the reality of it? You get a positive result, it's always the players.
Yeah.
It goes negative, it's not the players, it's the coach.
Always.
Oh, you should have done this.
Yeah.
You miss an open goal and your player got red carded, but it's your fault.
Yep.
You missed an open, but it's your fault.
Absolutely.
Oh, but then this game was tight and you had no business winning, and you found a way, you made a sub and that player scored, or you worked on a play and that produced a goal.
Yeah.
It wasn't you, it was them.
Absolutely.
So no matter what you do, it's
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the irony, as I get older, I realize that it's not going to change.
Yeah.
Like I used to say, if I win the lottery, I will still, I look at club different than before.
Yeah.
I look at club as, I invest in them and I do the best I can and I get locked in, but it's not the same joy that it was before. In Pierce, it's still a little different because the dynamics and the culture and the sociology where my kids come from at Pierce
Yeah.
is a little different.
Yeah.
I get all races, all sorts of life. I have exchange students. I have kids that take 3 buses just to come here.
Sure.
I have another kid that drives a brand new Tesla. Yeah. But to mesh them all, to blend them all together, it happens more like at Pierce than it does with my club.
Absolutely.
And like I was still if I ever was rich, I would coach free. Not that it get paid a lot.
Yeah, right.
But I will coach here because just the interaction with these young kids, as challenging as it is, and I've been blessed with you that I have been able to get players from St. John's.
Yep.
In which I think you do an incredible job, because people, like going back to you, for instance, that people will critique and say this instead of because I know probably more than you think what you do for these kids, what you do at the school, where you check up on them, you don't give up on them, you give them an opportunity to go to a private school, a Catholic high school that some of these kids would have never had an opportunity. Yeah. And instead of and I could be wrong on this, but how many people really say thank you? I'm so blessed, thank you for what you did. They turn it around like you owe them still. It's crazy how things work, and I see it from the exterior. Yeah. And I really say, how many people have gone on to Archey and say, man, shit, you know what? My daughter got a freaking, a Catholic private school education, man. Not everybody gets that. Yeah. But let's complain. Oh, she's not playing the position that she needs. With her club, she did this. And going back to the coaches, well, my coach said she should be playing there. And we live in a society that's so unappreciative. Instead of we wake up, I try to tell my kids, bless that we woke up.
That's right.
Mom, what's for breakfast? And I look at him, I go, are you serious right now? But that's who, and I'm blessed. Because my children, I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I have good kids. Yeah. And yet they still will respond. And I'm like, it's very sad in the world that we live before, and we can't change that. I am so blessed to have been born when I was born, because at the table we gather, we had hands.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my God, now literally, I told my 22-year-old older son the other day, I go, very calmly, I go, can you eat without your phone? He goes, Dad, I eat better.
I eat better.
And he's a kid who.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I appreciate your honesty. I go, but it saddens me, man. Before it was just conversations. Yeah. Hey, man, you know what? Now it's like kids. There's a thing on that people are more afraid of speaking in front of public than they are death itself.
Absolutely.
And I think it's getting worse because kids. I work at a high school, and when the teacher, a presentation, they rather fail
Yeah.
the oral part, then get up because they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
The anxiety, and I'm like, hey, it's okay. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
But you talk to these kids. No, no, it's different talking to them. The anxiety that I see in them, like, oh my God, we have teachers that are getting in trouble because they're trying to do the right thing. Hey, no, you need to speak. No. Oh, wait, now you're forcing my kid to. It's like, okay.
But Adolfo, this is what we're talking about, and again on this podcast, you and I are old school. I call it old school.
Yo, without a doubt.
We need to go
I'm proud
back.
of it.
I'm proud of it too, and we
Yes.
need to go back to some of the old school values. And I appreciate the words that you said about me, because I stopped coaching club because high school allows me to really keep my philosophy, which is education-based athletics, caring about the kids, really and truly caring about the kids, trying to do the best for them, to see them graduate, to go on in life and be good people, to be the types of people that you want living next door to you, the types of people that you would want marrying your sons or daughters. And that's really what I try to instill. And yes, I go out of my way. Anyone who knows me knows.
Yes.
I go out of my way.
Too much sometimes.
Too much to make sure that the kids that I coach feel loved, feel special, and have that drive. And especially coaching girls, I always say to them, I want you to be strong, independent young women. That is the goal. And we're losing that. We're losing the sense of that because of phones. I grew up in a household where mom, dad, brother, myself, 6 o'clock every night, we're at the dinner table, holding hands, praying, eating our meal. Now it's like you said, I need my phone. I got to have my phone to eat. I got to swipe.
Yes.
And things have changed. But I'm not going to change. This podcast is about us thinking and maybe implementing some of those old school values where,
no doubt.
We had a guest on the show that a therapist, a counselor, and she talked about failure. And she said, we don't want our kids to ever fail any longer. And she said something interesting. That she said, I think it's positive to have a dad or a mom go in the backyard and instead of making every goal or making every basket shooting, show your kids failure. Show your kids that dad can miss 3 shots in a row. He can miss 3 goals in a row. Let your kids see that failure. And I was like, what?
Yeah. It makes sense.
It does make sense.
Correct.
But the society that we're living in now, do kids want to see their dad fail?
Oh.
Do they want to see their mom fail? Or at least in the parents' minds, they don't want their kids to see them fail.
Of course.
Because then they're a failure.
It's a weakness.
It's a weakness.
It's a weakness.
And that, again, just my opinion, I loved it when she said that because, yes, no one's perfect. We're not perfect. But we want those kids to be perfect on a Saturday afternoon playing in that club game.
Absolutely.
They need to be perfect. And it's just unrealistic.
It's very unrealistic. And I think, but like you said, you've touched on a great point. And going back to the training, because that happens on my club team. Mm-hmm. These kids, well, he had a great JV year. He grew, and I don't want to, I'm like, really? Like,
yeah.
Great, and his trainer, and they're going to Europe and they're doing this. And I'm like, it's such a money-driven society. Every coach, I don't want to say that, my office, I literally sometimes come here and I open that and I see private trainers. No one has told me this. I've seen it. And I'm here and I see a private trainer that it goes for an hour.
1 hour.
Of the hour, maybe 15 minutes. They have him run laps, and then the coach literally takes out his phone. Has no idea that I'm watching. Takes out his phone, and the kid comes back. Oh, go! If I ever saw that, I would go crazy.
Yeah.
If I had someone work first, I'm paying you. Mm-hmm. This is different. Like coaching, they're paying you, but it's a different dynamic.
Absolutely.
I'm paying for your time, for you to better my child. And they spend and they do drills that are not. I'm not judging their any coach, but private training is completely different. You got to lock in. You have to someone that's going to make you better.
Yeah.
But just going through the motions and okay, and then I have another one in an hour. Yeah. It's so unfair, and it keeps happening. They're taking unfair. Money.
So Adolfo, I'm gonna close this out with this because you mentioned about honesty, and We've talked a lot here about parents coaching, spectating, this, that. How do we, what would you give a final word on maybe what you would like to see? Because we talked about 94, how things have changed to 2026. Think about what would you like to see for the future. So if I come back to you 5 years from now and we're sitting here doing this podcast, what would you like to see change? And we'll use soccer because you're a soccer coach, in youth soccer.
I think it's challenging because in club soccer, it's the coaches, unless you play for the Galaxy or LAFC, it's basically who's funding it is the parents, right? So, but even with that, it should be like life over sport, life over soccer in this case. I think coaches, and I see this at LAFC. Maybe because I'm old school, but my players greet me, and I greet them. They cannot leave even if I scream at them, even if they don't have a good practice. They all have to say, it's a culture that I think coaches should create a culture, and not so worry. We have these coaches that are like high tech now. Everybody has an iPad and this and that. And I see this. No one tells you, so I can speak from experience. They come in and like they set their box and this is what we're doing. And the kids are like, they're already scared of the coach.
Yeah.
You can't be scared of one thing's to respect them, another thing's to be scared.
Yep.
So I would love to see coaches, they think they're so worried about their license. I need my D license. I need my C license, my B license. But don't forget the human side, man.
That's right.
And I know this because I go to Mexico a lot. I was just there a month ago, friends. I went to a wedding, but I always I'll go to Chivas, whether it's female or male. I used to take teams to Mexico City, and I get it. Culture's a little different. But they're like, oh my God, you greet everybody, you talk to people. Even nowadays, they all have phones, but we all talk to each other. There's not enough of that here. Yeah. That it has to change. And if it doesn't change, it's just going to debacle. It's going to go crazy because coaches, even if it's basketball, football, you can be who you are. But you know what? The irony, you will get more from the player if you get the player themselves.
That's right.
By, hey, how are you?
That's right.
Come here. Hey, how you been? Oh, I sometimes it's a look on their face like, oh, hi, coach.
Yeah.
Are you good? How was school?
Yeah.
Like I never go straight. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to run. I'm going to set up my cones. I'm like, no, we need to create a more positive and more educational, but as far as core values, I don't care if, we don't have enough of that. There's not enough core values in our society, and it translates into sports. Where now we're like expecting all these things, and the people that are teaching you are only basically they're going off on what they learn. Well, I learned this at the course that this drill, this how to penetrate through offensive third and the zones, and then what does the 6 do? All that is great, but the kids are like. I've seen coaches, for instance, the other day, I saw the 11, right? This and that, going crazy. The kid had no idea what the 11 was.
No idea.
But yet the coach was expressing, in the offensive third, the 11 has to pinch in on defense, and you have to go away. And the kid is going, yeah. Later on, I literally asked him, hey, do you know what the 11 is? I have no idea, coach.
Exactly.
But he played the game.
But
he played the game.
But it's results based. That's where we are. It's results based. To me, as a coach, I take it seriously to be a mentor, a role model, someone who teaches, someone who cares about the kids. When I first got into education, I heard someone say a quote: "Kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care."
Absolutely. Yes.
And that's what I've tried to live by, because if we're just going out there results based and we don't really care about the kids, but Johnny can run real fast and score goals, okay, great. But like you said, you're not asking, hey, how was your day today?
Yeah, they get shocked.
Right. Tell me about yourself. What do you like? Just being interested in the kid. because I know you feel the same way, because we talked about you being invited to weddings and all those types of things. To me, I feel like you're a successful coach when 10, 12 years out, you can go to the mall and see a kid that you coach and they run up and say, Coach, oh my gosh, Coach. If they turn their head and they want to get away and don't want to see you, somewhere you failed. You might have won a lot of games, but somewhere you didn't touch that kid's heart, that kid's soul, for them to want to run over and say, Coach, how are you? And Adolfo, I've had a great deal of respect for you. You know that I've known you now,
likewise,
2 decades.
Yeah.
It's been 2 decades. I love what you do here at Los Angeles Pierce College. I love what you do as a man. We've had just personal conversation, and I know your heart's in the right place.
Thank you so much. Just adding on that, I never, when coach makes you feel in the lines that you just said, had a coach in Mexico that I also learned, and I try to say this a lot to my kids. They're like, there was no Surf Cup in Mexico, no Dallas Cup. But to relate it, he will say, people will not remember the PKs. They will not remember the shootout. They will not remember that you won surf in the last minute. They will not remember that you won CIF years to come. That's a big deal, right? I'm like, yeah, but they won't remember that. They will remember how you made them feel.
There it is.
And going back to what you just how you made them feel. If you fail miserably, if you see a kid at the mall or at a bank and you see him and the kid's like, it's up. Yeah. If there is no,
Absolutely.
I take pride now in kids that have graduated and work in banks.
Yeah.
And, hey, P, what's up? They literally get up. They're professional now.
Yeah.
But, suit and tie. And, they call me AP. They're like, hey, P, how are you? To me, I'm like, that's more important than at that time, even us as coaches, winning Surf Cup. And I didn't play those kids. And man,
yeah,
I should have, but I didn't. So,
Adolfo, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
This is my guy right here.
I appreciate
Adolfo
you.
Perez, head
It's
coach.
been a blast. Thank you for
Los Angeles
inviting me
Pierce College.
to What Are We Screaming About?
Why are we screaming? That's what
What are we screaming about?
Thanks, Adolfo.
No, thank you.